We build our modern cities out of steel and glass, flooding the night sky with electric light. We surround ourselves with concrete, fully convinced that our engineering makes us invincible against the forces of nature. But every single day, we walk directly above the ghosts of ancient, highly advanced empires. Civilizations that commanded vast armies and believed they would rule forever, right up until the moment they vanished entirely. For centuries, the Egyptian city of Thanis Heraklion was considered a myth. Texts described it as a grand gateway to Egypt, a thriving port dripping with gold. Recently, divers found it entirely real and perfectly preserved at the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea. Roughly 1,200 years ago, the ground beneath the city began to shake violently. Those tremors liquefied the earth into mud. In the blink of an eye, towering temples, statues, and thousands of people were dragged directly into the abyss. History's first, most ruthless lesson is absolute fragility. No matter how grand the monuments, the earth can simply open its jaws and wipe the slate clean in a matter of seconds. Long before the rise of the Roman Empire, a brilliant utopian civilization dominated the Mediterranean from the island of Crete. The Minoans built massive, sprawling palaces decorated with breathtaking frescoes. Their golden age ended in an absolute apocalypse. Just 70 miles away, the island of Santorini exploded in one of the most violent volcanic eruptions in planetary history. A towering column of superheated ash completely blotted out the sun for miles. Pyroclastic flows raced across the water. The eruption generated monstrous tsunamis, 30 feet high, that slammed into the Minoan coast and swallowed their sprawling ports instantly. The instantaneous shattering of this highly imaginative society left behind a legacy so haunting, it likely inspired the enduring myth of Atlantis. Sudden natural destruction is terrifying, but a far darker, more unsettling mystery arises when a civilization has the time to see their apocalypse coming. The physical ruins of lost cities act as psychological blueprints. They reveal exactly how human beings behave when paralyzed by an overwhelming fear. Beneath the soil of modern-day Turkey lies Çatalhöyük, one of the first urban settlements in human history. It defies modern logic. Thousands of inhabitants built their homes tightly packed together, forming a massive, continuous stone honeycomb with absolutely zero streets. To navigate the town, citizens walked across the rooftops and climbed down wooden ladders into their living rooms. When their loved ones died, they buried them directly beneath the dirt floors, cooking and sleeping above the bones of their ancestors, before mysteriously vanishing. A few hundred miles away, in the mountainous region of Cappadocia, another ancient people took an even more extreme approach to survival. They carved an entire metropolis straight down into the solid bedrock. This diagram illustrates the subterranean world, plunging 18 levels and 300 feet deep, housing 20,000 people. Engineered as a primitive fallout shelter against catastrophes, the Hittites locked themselves inside by rolling massive stone doors across the entrances. These bizarre architectural anomalies prove a terrifying point. Humanity's first instinct when facing an overwhelming, creeping threat is to lock itself away and hide in the dark. We find similar defensive isolation buried in the American heartland, just across the Mississippi River from St. Louis stood Cahokia, the domain of the Mississippians. 1,000 years ago, this towering earthen metropolis was larger than London. Their engineering was advanced enough to successfully divert the flow of the mighty Mississippi River. Yet, by the year 1250, the sprawling city fell completely silent, abruptly abandoned for reasons we still cannot definitively answer. Further west, in the harsh, sun-scorched deserts, the ancestral Pueblanans built magnificent, multi-story stone fortresses suspended high up in the sheer faces of towering cliffs. In the 13th century, their behavior shifted. They stopped building accessible homes near the ground and retreated to the highest, most defensive positions imaginable. They were hiding from a brutal megadrought that likely turned neighbor against neighbor in a desperate fight for food. Deep in the suffocating jungles of Central America, enormous 40-ton stone heads stare blankly into the vegetation. Left by the Olmecs, the foundational mother culture of Mesoamerica, they inexplicably deserted their major urban centers like phantoms nearly 4,000 years ago. The Maya inherited this jungle landscape. They were unparalleled astronomers and mathematicians who built soaring acropolises aligned perfectly with the stars. By the 9th century, under the weight of a relentless, choking drought, their empire began to fracture. Deep inside underwater caverns called cenotes, archaeologists have found grisly evidence of their desperation. As the drought worsened, desperate kings sacrificed young victims to the dark waters in a bloody, failed plea for rain. When relentless environmental threats push a civilization past its breaking point, hiding is no longer enough. The society fractures, turning inward and destroying its own humanity in a desperate attempt to survive. External forces, volcanoes, earthquakes, and droughts are deadly. But the most terrifying truth of lost empires is that the greatest civilizations are frequently the architects of their own destruction. At its peak, the mighty Khmer Empire in Southeast Asia boasted a vibrant capital significantly larger than modern-day New York City. Over centuries, a shifting religious identity caused the empire to fracture, and the population abandoned the highly complex water network that kept millions alive. Nature weaponized this abandonment. Giant strangler fig trees took root in the cracks of the stone, their massive roots crushing the temples and systematically strangling the glorious capital of Angkor Wat until it was swallowed by the wild. The ultimate haunting lesson sits on a tiny, isolated speck of land in the Pacific Ocean, Rapa Nui. The inhabitants possessed incredible industriousness, carefully carving and miraculously transporting hundreds of colossal stone guardians across the island. But this paradise became a deadly trap. The population relentlessly consumed their limited resources, over-harvesting the vital palm trees until they systematically destroyed their own fragile ecosystem. As the food supply vanished, mass starvation set in. Violent clan warfare erupted over the few scraps left, trapping the very builders of these majestic stone giants on an island they had ruined. History is a mirror. We walk through our glowing cities today, confident in our permanence. But if we consume blindly and forget our fragility, we too will eventually turn to dust. And thousands of years from now, someone else might be digging through our ruins, wondering who we were and where we went.